Hello, good morning, and welcome to Fire Safety Matters on Fire Service TV. Once again, it's a Tuesday morning, and we are here to delve deep into the LI 1724, that is the Fire Precaution Premises Regulations Act, that mandates the fire service as an organization to offer some few things to the general public concerning buildings such as public residential apartments, such as teacher training and research institutes, such as public residential apartments, such as places of work, such as health service centers, such as entertainment and recreational centers, and then places of assembly. When I mentioned, you realize I was silent on what are domestic houses. So LI 2249 in 2016 also came to birth to relook at how our respective houses were also getting engulfed in fires. That is where Dumja came in. That is the Home Fire Safety Law. But today we are going to concern ourselves with what we started last week. And we'll be looking at when we go to inspections, the various things that we looked at. Last week we touched on what? Escape routes. We touched on means of escape. Today we'll be looking at the suppression systems as well as early detection and warning systems. But before we do that, let me also tell you that the fires, the rains are here with us, and we've started experiencing fires. We are all aware of the damages the rain can bring when it comes to fires. So we are looking at some of the fires that are started as a result of rains. Let's take some few things into consideration. Let's check our earthing systems. Let's check our lightning. What is it? What is the name? Yeah, the wiring systems. Those wires that are open. We want to look at them. We also want to look at the lightning arresters on our building. Lately, most of the buildings do not have lightning arresters. That is why we are advising that when there is a thunderstorm, you put out all your television sets and other things if you know you don't have a lightning arrestor on your building. We are also saying some of these building antennas, the outdoor antennas you have, are conductors to what? To lightning. So let us be careful how we handle all those things in our respective houses. Before I introduce my guests, let's go to a short commercial break.
I came across power safety technology. So I introduced that into our residents, who are more than 4,000. And over the period, they have testified how power safety technology have saved them when the need arises.
Power safety. Safety is our hallmark.
Yes. Once again, you are welcome back from the short commercial break. I'm privileged to be here with our ever young looking retired DCFO Kwame Kwatin. And then to the extreme end, we have DO1, DD Investigations, David Afo, who also doubles as my boss, officer and a gentleman. You are most welcome.
Thank you.
We started something last week, and we looked at means of escape. Today we are going to look at early detection and warning systems. As the law permits, when they say early detection and warning systems, I want to come to you, DOAFO. What is early detection and warning systems? What is early detection and warning systems? What are they?
Thank you. I want talk about early detection and warning system, basically we are looking at things that will be put in place that can detect and raise an alarm in which the occupant can have an idea of an emerging fire outbreak. Under the early detection systems, we have types. First of all, we'll be looking at it in two groups. We have the battery operated, which is point detectors. We also have the electrical systems. Some people call it electronic. Under the alarm and fire detection system, we have two major types. That is addressable and conventional systems. The addressable system tells you the exact location of the fire, and most often the system is a looping system. Then the conventional system, it is area. So these are the major types that you have. But under the system, we talk about smoke detector, call point, and then we talk about the panel and the heat detector. In some situations, they've even added a gas detector. That makes it a complete. So that becomes a system. But when you talk about the point one, that's the battery operated, that one is not linked to any panel. Even with the system.
Yes, we'll come to how it is operated.
Okay.
I want to go to my boss, Deputy Kwarteng. Which building qualifies to have these detection and warning systems?
Thank you. That's a good question. But as he explained, he talked about the detection and warning systems. I think he differentiated between the detection device and the system. The systems have the components that he has mentioned, but the device is on its own, uses a battery, and do not have all the components. So as you just asked, what kind of building? It depends. If in your own domestic house or home, it would be better not to have a system, but have a device. That will be unit device like smoke or heat detector, which you can place them at various places in the bedroom or in the corridors or in the kitchen. That can inform you, because that unit has the capacity to detect the smoke or heat, and then also offer you the sound, normally in the form of alarm, in the beeping form, that will alert you that there's something happening in the building, in the house. Then when you come to a place like a hotel or where people are gathered, that means that it will have to go beyond the device, and which he has explained that you need to have the system. And he has already made it clear, the conventional and the addressable. These two units depends also on what area you are giving the cover. So ideally, as a fire consultant or a fire expert, when you have the drawing and you know the activities that are to be conducted in the area in which you are providing that detection system, that will inform you as to which system should be put in place, addressable or conventional.
So if I understand you, the system that should go, or the devices should go to our respective houses, since we don't have a complex house. It's just, and then how do you determine where some of these detectors, let's go to our respective houses, how do you determine when it comes to installation? If you touch on that one for us.
When it comes to installation, smoke detectors are installed in the bedrooms, and then the heat detector gets to the kitchen.
And who provides that service?
That is a service provider.
That is a service provider.
Yeah, but the fire service has to inspect and then certify that it has been done right.
Done right. Okay. That is where we come in as regulators.
Yes.
But do we also have the mandate to go into those houses or those public or commercial facilities to tell them that probably you need A, B, C, D in your building?
This is an interesting question. You see, as a regulator, you can't be a referee and a player
at the same time.
So it is better in your own interest to let somebody advise. You can advise that you need a detector, smoke or heat in here. But as to the location and distance, let whoever is the expert or the consultant do that on your behalf for you to cross-check and say, I concur with you. Because as a fire inspector or a fire, when you go and decide that the smoke detector should be here, and then in the case of fire, that place does not work, or the detector does not pick the smoke and there's a fire, I don't know how the law will deal with you as a fire officer. You are playing the part of a referee, but if as a consultant decides that here should be, and you go and check and it's right, and that place, the detector or the system does not work, the owner of the house has the right to sue whoever gave that advice. So please.
So when we go and we realize, okay.
You see, before you do these installations, the fundamental rule says that there should be an assessment. So there's a need for somebody to do the assessment before you can install these things. Most people think that once you have a facility or you put up your building and you want to move into it, you can just go and then buy things and install. No, you need to do some risk assessment for you to know the risk profile of your facility before such things are installed.
Okay, so as a service, when we go, what do we look out for on some of these detection systems? Dr. Kwati, if you can touch on that one for us.
You see, the law makes it very clear that if you have an alarm, either a device or a system, that system that has been installed, based on your certificate that is given, there's a logbook attached to that. And it says that you must keep a service tag on that detection system or alarm system. And then it has recordings on when that thing became faulty, when it's operational, and when that's been serviced, and the recordings are done in the logbook. So that is how the system is monitored from that angle. So it is right that the detection system must be checked. It is the fire service officer's responsibility or as an inspector to go there every 6 months as the law requires to see that that particular system is working. And you can do that by looking at the logbook, because if the log recordings does not show that the system has been faulty or has been disabled because of fault and has been remedied, then it's safe. You can also have a look with your experience as a fire officer. A device that is there has a blinking lightning system on it. So if you stand there and look at the...
Is it on the smoke detector
or on the smoke, on the smoke detector? So when you look at it, and for about 3 to 5 seconds, the light will come. Then you know that is. And the same unit also has a system where you can test to see whether the alarm is working or not. That is a way a fire officer tests to do that. But whoever installed it will do the testing and do the recording in the logbook. And that is where you, the fire officer, will look at it and cross-check. So that is the difference between the fire inspector and the installer. They are two different things. You are not the installer. You are the regulator, and you must make sure that that thing is operating every 6 months. So you need to build a capacity and go to a lot of... You have a lot of work doing, going to people's houses.
I think you want to
check all this.
After the installation, the new building regulation, LR 2465, mandates the service to issue commissioning certificates. So
commissioning certificate
of
for
the install item. It is not a fire certificate, but commissioning certificates. So these are the things. And before you also do the installation, there are certain things that you need to take into consideration. You look at the use of the premises, the use of the room also as well. Then you look at the room dimensions. But for every smoke detector, the point detectors or the electrical one, the radius is 7.5 meters.
Okay.
So meaning if you have a large room, then there is a need for you to do some calculation. You pick it from the wall 5.3 first. That is the measurement. Then you mount, you install the first smoke detector. Okay. Thereafter, it should be 10.5. Because why 10.5? The first sensor and the second sensor will overlap. Okay. So that even if there should be any smoke emerging from the lower part of the sensor, the two sensors can pick the smoke.
So if I understand, that means every smoke detector has a range that it covers.
It covers, yes.
So if you have a bigger area and you don't bring in somebody to come and do a risk assessment to determine how many smoke detectors a particular room would need, then what it means is that there can be fire in that room, but then before the smoke even gets to the smoke detector, a lot of damage may have been done.
Yes.
Yes, we are.
You see, so what you see, he's done the calculations.
Yes.
Perfect. That shows that he is a trained fire inspector,
exactly.
in my view.
Exactly.
You see, this is what the fire consultant does, or the fire service provider, whoever is providing the service does. So he understands where to put them and the environment to put. Because the smoke detectors, some of them are prone to dust, what do you call it, warm conditions and all that thing. So depending on the environment, that will determine this must be put here, so you don't get false alarm and so and so. So that aspect of his calculations is good. That's why I last cited an example that fire safety is science biased. It involves a lot, and you must be on authority, because if you come and tell me that I need so and so number of fire detectors or extinguishers, I will ask you to convince me by calculation or scientific basis why I need so much here. Yeah. So that is some of the things. So he has really made me understand that he is a fire inspector. He knows what.
Let me add, you mentioned the optical one, but there's another one called beam detector.
Beam detector. I was coming to that, sir.
Okay, then you ask your question.
When last week I asked that question,
yes,
that when you go to a typical warehouse where you have a very wide area, what types of detectors? Okay, let me ask, do we have other types of detectors? Or what are the types of detectors that we have in the system?
In our system?
Yes, no, in the system itself. For you to determine a system that can be used at a warehouse, a factory, and all those things, because some of these factories are smoke-prone areas. So what would be the advice to those areas, and what type of devices do you think we can use in those areas?
Okay, we are referring to smoke detectors.
Yes, smoke
not
detectors.
Heat.
No, not heat. Yes,
so
we are not going to.
Yeah, so with the smoke detectors, like I initially mentioned, we have the point detectors. That is, it looked like a bulb. Then we have the beam detectors. That one, you mount it by the wall. But with that system, you have what we call a receiver and a transmitter. And before you install a beam detector, there's a need for you to do what we call cost-benefit analysis. Granted, let's use an area of 100 meters by 50 meters. That will give you 1,500 meters squared. So with this area, if you want to mount or install smoke point detectors, you need more of that. In terms of cost, it will be higher. But if you pick the beam detector, which has a weight of, the weight is 15 meters, and the length is 100 meters. So meaning that you can comfortably install the beam detector as against the point detector in terms of cost. Okay. So it's the space that determines. But when you install these beam detectors, there's a need also to consider the height of the waste that you installed. So ideally, if you pick it from the roof or the ceiling of the warehouse, you drop it about 1 meter, then you install the beam, so that the waste will not obstruct. Because the design is such that the moment there is an obstruction, the alarm system will trigger.
So how does the beam detector work?
Okay. I think, you see, you must have good knowledge in building construction. You must understand what a beam and the columns are.
Okay, we are going to look at beams and columns.
Well, when you have that level, then you know where the beams are crossing and where the level of the column is.
Exactly.
So he made a mention that you don't let any obstruction be in between. Are you getting what I'm saying? So it means a beam coming along that particular area will have a place, will have a distraction. He talked about transmitter
And then
array. So it's working in the form of a wave.
a wave, yes.
So anything that comes across will pick it. Either it's a smoke or heat, it will pick it along the area. And it's for a very big space. Like, I want to add this thing about the unit ones too. We have what we call the optical and then the ionized. They all have a chamber or a way of operating. That's why I'm saying that you need to know the environment and understand what the situation before you advise. Else, when it fails, you'll be in trouble. So I think that's what I want to add to that about. So you must know that's what obstruction is very, very, very critical. When
so
it comes
if I understand, that means those beam detectors, they use the rays.
Yes.
Exactly. So and then the receptor is there. So it
receiver
cuts
is
across. So that is when smoke rises to that level, the ray picks it, and then once it is connected to the alarm system, it sounds alarm. Viewers, you can also join us by Facebook. We are streaming live on all our social networks. So you can get the fire service on our Facebook is GNFS official, and other social network handlers. You can also get us on what GNFS official. I'll be hoping to read your messages as they come, as we continue. Okay, so Dio, when you go, just like we talked of the logbook,
Yeah.
and then probably when you check on the, be it the addressable system or the conventional system, and you see an indicator telling you that this system is faulty, but it is not recorded in the book. How do you handle such situation?
Okay. Before I answer that question, let's look at the panel itself. On the panel, we have the green light, the amber, and then the red. The green tells you that the system is healthier, meaning it is working perfectly. Then the amber tells you there's a fault somewhere. Then the red means fire. So these are the things that you need to know. And then if the panel is an addressable system, anytime these things happen, apart from the green, the amber and the red lights indicates there will be a printer telling you when the incident occurred and a specific location of that thing. So now let's get to the logbook. Logbooks are completed based on the certificate that has been issued to a particular premises. So what it means is that every premises that has been issued with the fire certificate has a logbook. And then these people are supposed to be trained as to how to use the logbook. So we have within the logbook, we have the daily, weekly, and monthly, and yearly. So the safety officer of that facility is supposed to go around and then record the incidents that happens in the logbook, appropriate location within the logbook.
But the question is,
So it means that it means that if there's a fire anywhere in a building and a property, the first document that must be looked for
is the logbook.
Is the logbook. If that place has the detection and warning system in place, the logbook will open up and say, on this day, this system was faulty. It was given this particular time to rectify. It has been rectified. If there are no recordings of that fault, then it means that the detection system should have warned them of the fire, and whoever was going to be the incident responder would be. So it's a very critical document for investigation and must always be kept ready and submitted to the fire inspector for inspection. So this is how the logbook issue goes about. But whatever recording that he has said should be done. It's like occurrence book that you have in fire. So whatever happens at the station from whoever is in charge, so he hands or knock off, should be recorded. and that is what you pick to do your further investigation.
Yeah, so to our viewers, especially the fire safety officers, today we are being advised that when you go for inspections at these premises, make sure you insist on the logbooks and then check if the logbooks are being logged every now and then. Let me play the devil's advocate here. Do we check the logbooks as safety inspectors?
Yes. Some institutions, if you pick institutions where they have trained safety officers, those who have qualification in NEBOSH and other things, for them, they will insist. Where they don't even have it, they have the internal logbook that they log.
Okay, so that means all the registered service providers who offer services to these clients must make sure they also educate the safety officers there,
yes,
as to how to log this book. But most of these institutions, when you go there, the people there, they don't even know what the control panel is, what a call point is, and all that. So the whole thing looks like it's just something to meet statutory requirements. So they are in place. I remember there was a time we had a simulation exercise, and when we went to an institution, I don't want to mention the name, they told us, as for them, the extinguishers are for the firemen to come and use, and that they do not have to use the fire extinguishers. So I got, who told them that? So the service provider who provided the service for them told them that. So that means that institution, when they had just a simulation exercise, the people ran out. Nobody went for the fire extinguisher. Nobody tried looking for the fire extinguisher. Nobody went to the call point to even check. So that means they do not even have fire safety wardens. As an institution, are we checking out those ones?
Okay, you see, I don't want to. That's this. How do you ensure that the people in the building are trained?
Yes, I think the last time we
it is in the logbook.
It is in the logbook.
The logbook says that the people in the building should be trained. So how to use the extinguisher, how to get out of the building in case of a fire, and who does that? You, the fire service, you cannot be there 24/7. It is the safety officer assigned to the property by the owners of the company or whoever it is that trains the people, and that's the recording that on this first day of this, Deputy Kwarteng coming to work here has been taken through an induction training and is recorded in the logbook. So Kwarteng knows his escape and taste of fire. So everybody within a quarter of a month by management's plan knows that we have an evacuation drill on this day and this is how we train the people, and it's recorded. So when you go as a fire inspector, that is what you look to prove that the people have gone through the training and this, because you can't be there 24/7. That one you can't do it.
So can we make it, as an institution, can we make it mandatory that before your certificate, your fire certificate is even issued to the company, that company must undergo some level of basic fire safety training?
Yes. The company must go through a level of fire safety training, but not a training organized by fire service. You are a regulator, so you should be around. You can have a training program with them, because the cost of training people and institutions is not cheap. Fire service, I know we do not have the money to buy extinguishers to go and train. Even though you issue certificate of participation to the people, the cost of the certificate of participation is less than 20 cedis or something. I stand for correction. By the extinguisher, to use one extinguisher for training is going to cost about 200 cedis. Who bears the cost? That is where the service should not but supervise the training and issue the certificate, but should not do the training, because you can't provide. But if you use an extinguisher to train the people and they give you 20 cedis for certificate, where is the service going to get back? Are you getting what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So
yes, sir.
Yours is to ensure. Ensuring has two ways: either documentary insurance or your presence for the person to be trained by their own safety officers, and you under your guidance, they issue the certificate to them. I hope you understand. Yes, that is what the law says, ensure. It did not say that fire service go and train the people. but you can offer that training capacity to and let them understand how it is used. You do it very well, and I support that. When you go to the markets and you do the training, you set the fire, you demonstrate to the people, and then you ask the people to come and do the firefight, and then they see how it is done. That is public education. But when you're going to a company to do that, it's a different thing.
So we are
altogether.
looking at public education, and we are looking at going to train.
Train.
Okay. Because I wanted to say that then that will contradict Act 537 that mandates the. But once you've been able to draw a line,
yes,
that is a public education.
Public education.
Training. When we say ensuring,
exactly.
Our inspection form, the authorization form that we used, Part C of that authorization form spell out how things that need to be done. Talks about means of escape, gives alarm system, and there's a portion that you need to indicate whether the occupant has received training or not. Exactly. And if you look at the authorization, we have columns: yes, no, and not applicable or not available. So that's another form which the service used to ensure that the people have received adequate training.
I think we'll go for a short commercial break. But before we go, I'd like to tell you that when we come back, we'll be looking at what an addressable system is, and then what a conventional system is, and how they work and other things. So let's go for a short commercial break. We'll be right back.
I came across power safety technology. So I introduced that into our residents, who are more than 4,000. And over the period, they have testified how power safety technology have saved them when the need arises.
Power safety. Safety is our hallmark.
Viewers, you are welcome back from the short commercial break. Our resource people are still here, and they will be throwing more light on the topic in discussion today, that is early detection and warning systems. So before we left, Dio, I wanted to know what is the difference between an addressable system and then a conventional system. When they say addressable,
simple word to differentiate the two. When we say addressable, it is location specific, and then when we say conventional, it is area specific. So what it means is that addressable will pick the fire or smoke and then indicate on the panel exact location of the fire. But with conventional, it will tell you the level or the floor. It will not give you the location. Sure. Granted, maybe you have 4 levels, it will tell you second floor, meaning that the occupier or the person who has been assigned that responsibility has to go around and look for the seat of the fire.
Okay, so that means it is zoned.
Zoned, yeah.
We normally have the zone, so it will only tell you the zone.
Yes.
That this is where the fire is. Maybe if the second floor, the third floor, then you reach out there and then you go and look for the fire.
Yeah.
Whereas the addressable system will tell you exactly where the fire is. What role does the call points play, Deputy Kwati?
Okay, you see, he made it very simple. Addressable is location specific. Who will be in that place at that time when the fire will happen? Nobody knows. It could be for an aged home or a home care or not manned 24 hours 7, right? So when the fire happens in this room or this location, it's indicated on the panel which is controlled by a security officer, and he knows that it is in room 15 on the first or second or third floor. So he goes there with the extinguisher to extinguish the fire or check whether it's not a false alarm. Conventional is different. It means that somebody somewhere must be present in the building 24/7. And therefore, when it picks or he hears or sees it on the panel, maybe first floor, ground floor is zone 1, first floor zone 2, third floor zone 3. Now, if fire should happen on in the 3 floors, all the 3 lights indicates, because maybe the fire had gotten to a level which he didn't notice, then which of the floors is he going to climb and look for the room or the area or smell smoke before he goes with the extinguisher to tackle? So you see the difference. But it's cheaper to install the conventional, but depending on what
The
you're
risk
protecting,
involved in the area.
yes, the life that you want to save, the things that you are interested. That is why I'm saying that you need the expert to sit down with whoever you are trying to protect the thing for. Let him give you the scenario of instance based on your expert's advice and questions, and that will tell you this: you need a conventional, or you don't need a conventional, you need an addressable. So it is not a fax rule or direction that, oh, it's an office, addressable, oh, is this place conventional? No. The situation must be well evaluated. As I said, risk assessment must be done to understand what will work best for the particular location.
Okay. For viewers watching us, if you want to join us to contribute, to ask questions, you can reach us on 0509 608744. 0509 608744. Please, when you call, go straight to the point. Just be precise. Our resource people are here, and then they will answer your questions. Yes. So, do you like to add anything to it?
Something on the alarm systems. For high-rise buildings and then multi-purpose structures, before you install these alarm systems, there's a need for us to understand the evacuation strategy. Do you understand? For instance, let's use a place like CD House, and you have other businesses, you have bank and other things. So the system has to be done structured in such a way that the first alarm has to trigger for the safety officer to go and to verify if it's a minor fire or major. Before, sometimes it could be false alarm.
So that it doesn't create panic situation.
Yes, and also it depends on the sensitivity of the detector. Even personal perfumes and other things sometimes can trigger. So when this thing happens, the safety officer can easily, or the safety team within that facility can easily manage it before the second alarm will be triggered for everybody to evacuate. So you cannot just install alarm system in multi-purpose buildings or high-rise just because you want to. But there's a need for you to do some assessment. You do risk assessment. You look at the vulnerability level of the persons within the building before you make some recommendations as to whether it should be conventional or an addressable system.
Okay. Then I ask this question, do you have a call point? What is the call point?
A call point basically, as the name goes, call point. It's a point that you trigger to raise an alarm. It is, yes. So the call point
is it to inform others on the building that there's fire?
Yes, to inform. The call point also is linked to a sounder. Yeah. So you cannot have a call point without a sounder. But most of you go to some facilities, you have the sounder without a call point. And then it's very interesting. So sounder and call points goes together. In some situations, you can have a sounder and call point without a panel.
Yes, that is just to raise alarm.
Just
mostly
to raise alarm.
Those horns,
especially in the factories. And I said that sometimes you can also have, where you have a big factory, you have a call point, the sounder, and a lighting system. So in the factory, you see that maybe the working area, you have...
When you say the lighting system, is it the emergency light?
No. It's a light. Like I'm going to explain.
Oh, yes, sir.
At the working area, where there's a lot of sound, you install lighting system over there. So the moment you sound alarm, the sounder will sound, then there will be lightning.
The lights will be beeping.
I don't want to use the technical word.
Okay.
I want them to understand. So that this alarm will tell you that there is an emergency. So you need to come out, you stop what you are doing, and then come out of the building. And for buildings like hotels, where they have dedicated area for physically challenged, in such situations, you have what we call a vibrator under the pillow. It's another form of alerting the occupant of the. So basically, call points cannot stand alone. It has to link with the sounder to raise an alarm of an emergency.
So would you recommend such facility for a hospital where people are incapacitated and all that? What advice or what system would you recommend for such a structure?
Yes, like initial. Okay, take it.
You see, as he answered the question on call point, something came into my mind.
Okay.
Now, how do you alert people that there's an emergency? For instance, you have what we call the call point or the pull station, as the Americans will say. You don't have those facilities in the building, but there's a fire in the building. How are you going to inform the rest of the people in there? There are other forms of call. When we were in primary school, when it's break time, we have this gong gong.
Yes, they beat the gong gong.
They beat the gong gong. It's a means of alerting people. When there's a police or a fire service, that's why you have the lanyard with the whistle in there. So if there's a security man and the people there are trained and they understand that when we hear this whistle, it means there's a fire outbreak, because they don't have the alarm or the situation there will not permit them to have. So the environment and your working area should, and out of your training, will determine how you can inform the people of any fire emergency. So it's not only the call point, as we know by the electronic, but the other. If you decide to use gong gong as your means of informing people of an emergency, let them understand and use it. I'll give you an example. I used to do evacuation drill for some of the banks like UMB. They don't have the control panels and call points and this thing. So when I'm performing it, I use megaphone. The megaphone has a siren on it.
On it, yes.
You know that? So I secretly go in there, place it somewhere, and sound it. Then they begin to panic, what is happening? Then I realized that they didn't have training to know what to respond, how to respond when there's an emergency. In some areas too, I use the whistle. Then you see them sitting down, they start asking, who is whistling, who is whistling? So it means they themselves, among the working class, they do not know that in emergency we'll hear something like this. So whatever you use as a means of alerting them should be made known to the staff.
I said, if I may go back, acceptable fire service.
That is what.
And that was why I was coming to that. Because
so
I know
you must-
the Bank of Ghana has a requirement
Yes.
that every commercial bank,
Yes.
the central bank, that is
Yes.
every commercial bank must meet a particular requirement before.
Yes.
But we will
You
leave
see,
it like that. and then-
the reason why I am saying this is that if the fire code specifies that you must have this, and the person goes
contrary to
contrary,
it.
and then it means you can hold him. But I have my property, and I have not seen the fire code that tells me that I must have this thing, and I put a whistle as a means of way. You cannot tell me. So the code, I'm yet to see. I think you have it.
We are working on
Very
the code.
good. When I see it, I can't use a whistle.
That's
I
it.
can't use a megaphone. I can't use this. Then I go by strictly what is in that particular fire
Even
code.
in some building, the new technology that I have seen, I saw one in Tema. The call point also linked with music.
With music.
Yes, and close to the detector. So the moment it picks and somebody activates, then the melody will just be going
Start playing.
So there are a lot of technology.
Yes, you see, you also asked the question about a hospital.
Exactly. Hospital setting.
Yes, you have me answer.
Hospital
So
setting.
please answer. Maybe it has changed.
No, it has not changed, sir. You see, before you recommend alarm system for a hospital, there's a need for you to also do risk assessment to understand the nature of business over there. Even though you know it's a hospital, there are certain areas that the wards, we don't install smoke detectors over there. We don't install call points and sounders over there. But offices, laundry, any other area, with the exception of the wards, we install the smoke detectors over there.
Just to add, yes. You know, when you go to the hospitals, they have what we call the nurse room, the nurses room.
Nurses room.
That's where the nurse keep 24/7 in that particular area. They do not need to hear any sound or where the wards are, but they have what we call the beacon lights or flashes in their room. So if there's an emergency or a fire outbreak or a detector has, he will see that particular alarm blinking in his office or within the area where the alarms are not allowed blinking. Then he will go and find out from where the problem is.
So the wards can also have the blinking lights.
Yes.
But not necessarily the sounder.
Sounders.
Exactly.
Depends. So that's why I'm saying that it's so technical. It is not a matter of saying put this. The situation and the environment will determine what will be conducive for the people to use in that area. That is it.
Okay, there's a question on Facebook. Somebody is asking if it is advisable, I think we treated it last week, to use the elevator in an emergency. Yes, so please let's just touch it basically for them. So we tell them why they don't need to use the elevator in an emergency.
Okay. We don't use the elevator because during the emergency we shut down the electricity supply. It is only firefighters lift that can be used. That one we have a dedicated battle to support the movement of the lift. So for elevator, no. Emergency, no. Use the staircase,
Yes,
because the
so-
staircase is serve as a protected escape.
Exactly. I think last week we treated that one. So whoever is asking, we are saying it is not advisable to use the lift or the elevator in an emergency, because in an emergency situation, what we do is we shut down power supply, and by so doing you may be trapped in the lift, which is not advisable. So we advise that in an emergency situation, please use the staircase and not the lift.
I think, I don't know where his question is very clear. The lift is within a circulation core which moves up and down. Then there's another form which is used in the shopping mall, what we call the, where you can, yeah, no. We can get to another floor, but this one is not in the actual lift. I've forgotten the name. You climb
the
on
one
it.
that takes you. There's a platform that takes you to other floors.
Other floors.
Exactly.
Those are open areas. But as he made it very clear, in those times, all those electrical systems will go off. So when you go and stand on it, you will still be in one position until thy kingdom comes. So don't use it. But along their sides, there are always a movement or stairs somewhere to use. Okay.
Please, would you like to add something to it? On what just
it's okay. He has said all.
Oh, okay. So, in an instance where a facility does not have all this, what does the law say? A commercial facility that is supposed to have, let's say, early detection and warning system, and that facility doesn't have the early detection and warning system. As an organization, do we have the political way to prosecute those people?
Why political? We'll be mandated to do so. So what you need to do is to notify the institution. And then there's a need for you to also issue what we call inadequacy facility. Per the law, license 24, after 1 year, all institutions that exist or structures that were in place before the law are mandated to acquire. So once you refuse to do that, and I think we are in our 30, so how many years now? 20 years, and you've not acquired them, meaning you have flattened the law, and it's an offense. So I would advise that they should make effort to get to the service to acquire the fire certificate.
As a service, have we been able to prosecute someone?
Oh yes, we have. We have. That was 2014 when I was in Kumasi. I took 104 institutions to court, and they were prosecuted. Yes.
So which charge sheet did you use?
No, in fact, I involved myself.
I'm asking this question because a friend of mine, last time, I think I asked Deputy Kwati, called me and said we are supposed to have charge sheets and other things.
Yeah, we've not gotten there yet. I know some years back, some of us were trained, and then what was
on the prosecutor's course?
Yes.
Which we touched on the last time.
Yes, and then we're asked to also apply to the Attorney General for executive instruments, which we have not been given yet. I don't know whether they've applied. I'm no more in that directory, so I cannot speak to that.
No, but Deputy Kwati spearheaded it.
Yes.
And from what he said the last time, we have not been able to. Exactly. We are supposed to do 1, 2, 3. Oh, Deputy Kwati, you throw more light on it.
No. To be frank, I've not seen any executive instruments as made, unless I don't know.
So let me explain.
Unless you find out.
Okay.
The law says you need to partner a police officer. So what I did was that I wrote to the police command, at the regional command, and I was assigned an officer. So she assisted us to go through the process. Yeah, so that's how come we're able to prosecute those people.
In these fields of fire personnel being battered at firegrounds, being pelted, stones being pelted at them and all that, don't you think if we have the prosecutors course, it will help us now?
Yes, it will help
where
us.
We can go in and then charge people. Well, that is.
It's interesting. Do you want to be a police or you want to be a fire safety officer?
Oh no, we are looking at what will make the general public also
see that.
Exactly.
It is good, but get the law if it's not in place before you do the actual.
Sir, it is your baby.
I understand,
even
but
though you
currently
exited the system, you can still push for it.
There are people who are capable. Those that we left behind can handle the aspect and get the law to operate very well. So push it up. If it's not, you don't still have it, get it, and then do the prosecution yourself and prepare how to do the charge sheets and so on and so forth. You can do it.
Yes, sir. So, sir, what's that the law says about detection systems in our houses?
You see, I wanted to bring in this. You know, before this LI came.
Is it the 1724?
Yes.
Or the 2249?
Before the LI came, or after the LI, we were still occupying this building without a fire cover, a fire detection and warning system. But
of late you have been able to.
Exactly.
Just to
We
answer
have-
you don't have it. The law requires that you have it. Now the head office, fire service headquarters,
Yes, we will
has
have
the
it.
detection and alarm system.
Yes, we have the early detection
Yes,
and warning
you had to
system.
do adjustment by doing trunking
Yes.
to make it fit the purpose of which the law was made, isn't it?
It
So,
is.
so if the people who don't have it, and you go and offer the inadequacy notice that he has mentioned, and you give him a time period, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 years, or within a year, we expect that you put the detection, you put your extinguishers, you put your this, so and so in place, as the law requires, so that the person will have time and solve the problem. Even though it's 20 years ago, just start moderately with them and let them. What we are looking for is the safety of the person in the building. If you go and close the building down, everybody goes home. The building is still not safe for what use. Are you helping the company? Are you helping the people? Or are you helping them to understand what fire safety is meant? The ultimate is to make sure that the people are safe in case of fire. If you go and close the place down, to me, it's not the best.
Most of
So
it-
as he said, let's give them time, give them notice, lure them. Then you come back to your prosecution. I gave you so much time and you have not done it. So whoever, when you send the case to court, you have a back end. The lawyer, the judge will also know that you gave the person space and time. Are you getting me? But just go and say you don't have it, close down, please.
What I did in 2014, first I issued inadequacy, then a reminder, final notice before the prosecution. So they had a lot of time. So once you go through this, if you get to the court, these are things that we use as exhibits, and then they were used against them. So they couldn't say anything. Some of them have to plead.
So you see, LI 1724 was LI 1724 was silence on domestic houses,
Yes.
cover for domestic houses, and then we had 2249, which talks about what Dunja.
Yeah.
So can I just walk into somebody's house and then go and look for a smoke detector in the person's house or a fire extinguisher?
I will say yes,
Uh-huh.
and I will explain. The new building regulation,
Patients.
I think regulations 10102 or so, mandate us as a service to go out there to inspect.
But there's a clause in there. Maybe next week we'll look at it. because
Maybe
our
we have to
time-
look at it.
Exactly.
But you see, once it's domestic, if you look at our fire outbreak trends, it seems the domestic outbreak is on the higher side. So
Because those people who have the cover in the commercial areas go back to their respective houses and there's no cover there. That is that we are now
so
experiencing
we need
more
to
fires
extend
there.
our services to that place.
But the 2240, 2249,
Yes.
the fire service is supposed to do something. So, in fact, this is how far time will pass.
And there was a
So we'll look
pre-con-
at it next week.
What I want you to understand now, what I want you to understand is that the fire service or a fire officer by law has a right to enter any place or environment where he suspects what? The fire outbreak in there. Or that power is with you. But you must
That is
enter
a tagged fire safety officer.
not a tag. The law,
The
a
chief
chief
officer.
officer.
Okay.
That-
So the
yes. Are you getting what I'm saying? So you have the authority to go and knock and find out whether his environment or place is safe. Because the person's house is his kingdom. He can allow you in or not. But then you have the right, authorized by the chief officer, at a reasonable time to go in there and see that he has those facilities. Are you getting what I'm saying? So please, let's be cautious of how we want to. You can enter when there's fire. You don't even need the chief officer's authority. When you suspect the place to be on fire, you can enter the place and do the firefighting.
So you can't bulldoze your way into somebody's house.
Yes.
And go and threaten them and tell them, look.
But when it comes to public place of this, You can also not enter there in uniform until you are tagged as an inspector authorized by the chief fire officer. There are differences too. Entering people's home is quite different from entering people's office to perform either firefighting or fire safety job. Please.
So that explains the reason why authorization form was introduced. So you enter the premise with an authority
an authorization
signed by the
form.
regional commander or the chief officer or the regional commander or any other person that has been mandated to do so before you can even start your inspection. So,
Dio, let me take your closing comments.
Okay. Well, I would like to tell your viewers that our viewers that fire safety is a shared responsibility, and they should also try their best to acquire fire detection alarm systems, both at the workplace and at home, so that we all enjoy what I normally say a win-win situation. I say win-win situation because if the place is safe, we also don't do much of the firefighting. Rather, we save resources for Mother Ghana.
And then Deputy Quarton.
Mine is very simple, and I encourage all to be well vested in the law and understand what they have to do and what they don't have to do, so you don't put the service name into disrepute, please, so that we don't command. We are dealing with human beings in the society, and therefore we must know our limitations and know what will help the service to go, and keep on reading and learning from on the internet. A lot of fire issues are there to help you upgrade to become safety and good fire officers. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, sir. Viewers, this is how far time of the meeting. I want to thank my resource people, especially Deputy Quarton, who almost every Tuesday has to put whatever schedule he has aside and come to join us. Although he's retired, he is still available to impact knowledge. So those of you from the regions, if you want this man to come to your aid, you can write to him or you can contact him. He will come and educate your people on some of the do's and don'ts. As for Dio Afo, he is still here with us and we are still tapping from him. Thank you for watching us. Till we meet again, bye-bye.